Elena Rodriguez thought she had seen everything in her 8 years of teaching. But on a cold February morning in Phoenix, Arizona, she witnessed something that would change not just one child's life, but an entire community. Behind the cafeteria, at Lincoln Elementary School, 10-year-old Marcus Thompson was digging through a trash can, pulling out a half-eaten sandwich. He ate it quickly, looking around to make sure no one was watching. Elena's heart broke as she realized her student was so hungry that he was eating garbage. But what happened next started a chain of kindness that spread far beyond anything she could have imagined. This is the true story of how one teacher's simple act of caring grew into something that would heal wounds from the past and create hope. For thousands of families in the future, Mrs. Elena Rodriguez loved being a teacher. Every morning when she walked into Lincoln Elementary School in Phoenix, Arizona, she felt happy. The school hallways smelled like cleaning supplies and pencil shavings. Kids' artwork covered the walls with bright colors and big smiles. Elena had been teaching 5th grade for 8 years. She thought she had seen everything. Kids who forgot their homework, kids who fell asleep in class, kids who got in fights at recess, kids who cried when they missed their parents. She knew how to handle all of these things, but on Tuesday, February 13th, 2024, Elena saw something that made her stomach feel sick. It was lunchtime at Lincoln Elementary. Most of the kids were in the cafeteria eating hot pizza and drinking chocolate milk. The cafeteria was loud and full of laughter. Kids traded cookies for chips. They talked about video games and weekend plans. Elena usually ate lunch in her classroom while grading papers. But today, she decided to walk around the school. The Arizona sun was shining, but the air was cold for February. She put on her sweater and stepped outside. She walked past the playground where some kids were playing basketball. She waved at the kids and smiled. Then she walked behind the cafeteria building. This was where the big green trash cans were kept. It was quiet back here. No kids were supposed to be in this area during lunch, but Elena heard a sound, a quiet rustling noise like someone digging through papers. She walked closer to the trash cans. What she saw next made her heart break. 10-year-old Marcus Thompson was standing next to the biggest trash can. His small hands were digging through the garbage. He pulled out a sandwich that someone had thrown away. Half of it was missing, but Marcus didn't care. He started eating it quickly. Elena felt like she couldn't breathe. Marcus was one of her students. He sat in the 3rd row, 2nd desk. He was always quiet in class. He never caused trouble. He did his work without complaining. But now she was watching him eat garbage. Marcus looked around to make sure no one was watching. His brown eyes were scared. His hands shook a little as he ate the old sandwich. He was wearing a clean but old t-shirt and jeans that were too big for him. His sneakers had holes in them. Elena wanted to run over and help him. But she didn't want to embarrass Marcus. She didn't want him to feel ashamed. So she stayed hidden and watched. Marcus finished the sandwich in 3 big bites. Then he looked in the trash can again. He found an apple that was only a little brown. He wiped it on his shirt and ate it too. Elena's eyes filled with tears. How long had Marcus been doing this? How many days had she seen him in class? Not knowing he was hungry? What kind of teacher was she if her student was eating from the trash? She thought about Marcus in her classroom. He always seemed tired. Sometimes he put his head down on his desk. She thought he was just bored or sleepy. Now she realized he might be weak from hunger. Marcus never bought lunch from the cafeteria. Elena always thought he brought lunch from home. She never saw him with a lunchbox, but some kids kept their lunches in their backpacks. She never thought to ask. Marcus looked around one more time. Then he walked away from the trash cans. He went back toward the school building, probably to go to the library like he always did during lunch. He never played with other kids. He never ran around the playground. He just sat quietly and read books. Elena waited until Marcus was gone. Then she walked over to the trash can. She looked inside and saw what Marcus had been digging through. Old food from the cafeteria, half-eaten sandwiches, bruised fruit, empty milk cartons. The smell was terrible. She felt sick thinking about Marcus eating this food. But she also felt something else. She felt angry. Not at Marcus, but at herself. How could she not have noticed? How could she have missed this? Elena walked back to her classroom. She couldn't eat her own lunch. She kept thinking about Marcus digging through the trash. She kept seeing his scared eyes and shaking hands. That afternoon, Marcus came back to class for math time. Elena watched him carefully. He walked slowly to his desk. He looked tired. His face was pale. During the math lesson, he put his head down on his desk. "Marcus," Elena said gently. "Are you feeling okay?" Marcus lifted his head quickly. "Yes, Mrs. Rodriguez, I'm fine." But Elena could see he wasn't fine. His eyes looked heavy. His voice was quiet and weak. "Why don't you rest for a few minutes?" Elena said. She took her own sweater off her chair and put it over Marcus's shoulders. "You can sleep until math time is over." The other kids in class looked curious. "Why does Marcus get to sleep?" asked Sarah, a girl who sat near the window. "Everyone needs rest sometimes," Elena said. "Let's focus on our math problems." Marcus fell asleep right away. Elena let him sleep for the rest of the afternoon. When other kids asked questions, she just said Marcus needed to rest. While Marcus slept, Elena kept thinking. She looked at his school file on her computer. Marcus lived with his grandmother, Dorothy Thompson. His address was Desert View Apartments on the south side of Phoenix. Elena knew this area. It wasn't the nicest part of town. The file said Marcus's parents died in a car accident 2 years ago. That's when he came to live with his grandmother. Elena felt her heart break even more. Marcus had lost his parents, and now he was hungry every day. Elena looked at Marcus, sleeping at his desk. He looked so small and young. His dark hair was messy. His clothes were clean but worn out. She could see he tried to take care of himself, but he was just a 10-year-old boy. When school ended, Elena gently woke Marcus up. "Time to go home," she said softly. Marcus rubbed his eyes. "Thank you for letting me sleep, Mrs. Rodriguez." "You're welcome, Marcus. I'll see you tomorrow." Marcus packed his backpack. It looked almost empty. Just a few books and an old pencil case. No lunchbox, no snacks, nothing extra. Elena watched Marcus walk to the bus. He moved slowly, like he was tired or weak. She wanted to follow him home. She wanted to talk to his grandmother. She wanted to fix everything right now. But she knew she had to be careful. She couldn't just show up at someone's house. She couldn't embarrass Marcus or his family. She needed to think about the right way to help. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She kept seeing Marcus eating from the trash can. She kept thinking about him falling asleep in class because he was weak from hunger. She thought about his empty backpack and his thin face. She made a decision. Tomorrow, she would start helping Marcus. She didn't know exactly how yet, but she knew she couldn't let her student eat garbage while she did nothing. Elena had no idea that her simple decision to help one hungry boy would change not just Marcus's life, but the lives of hundreds of people in her community. She had no idea that her act of kindness would grow into something amazing that would restore faith in humanity for everyone who heard the story. All she knew was that tomorrow, Marcus Thompson would not eat from the trash can. Not while she was his teacher, not while she could do something to help. The discovery behind the cafeteria had changed everything. Now it was time to act. Elena couldn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Marcus digging through the trash can. She saw his scared face and shaking hands. She heard the sound of him eating that old sandwich. She kept thinking about what she should do. Should she call his grandmother? Should she talk to the principal? Should she just give Marcus food without asking? Anyone? Elena got out of bed at 5:30 in the morning. She made coffee and sat at her kitchen table. She needed to learn more about Marcus's situation before she did anything. She didn't want to make things worse for him or his family. At 6:45, Elena drove to Lincoln Elementary. She wanted to get there early to watch Marcus arrive. The school parking lot was empty except for a few teacher cars. The sun was just starting to come up over the desert mountains around Phoenix. Elena sat in her car and waited. At 7:15, she saw the school bus pull up. Marcus was the first kid to get off the bus. He walked slowly toward the school building. His backpack looked empty and light on his shoulders. Elena checked her watch. School didn't start until 8:00. Why? Was Marcus here so early? She watched him sit on the steps outside the main door. He took a book out of his backpack and started reading. Other kids started arriving around 7:45. They ran past Marcus, laughing and talking with friends. Marcus just kept reading his book. He didn't talk to anyone. No one talked to him. Elena felt sad watching this. Marcus looked so alone sitting on those steps. When the school doors opened at 7:50, Elena went inside. She walked to her classroom and got ready for the day. But she kept thinking about Marcus sitting alone outside for 45 minutes every morning. During first period, Elena watched Marcus more carefully than ever before. He sat quietly at his desk, just like always. But now she noticed things she had missed before. Marcus's pencil was very short, worn down to almost nothing. His notebook had pages missing. His textbook was old and had marks all over it from other students who used it before him. When the class did a writing exercise, Marcus wrote very small letters. Elena realized he was trying to use as little paper as possible. He wanted to make his notebook last longer. During reading time, Marcus always volunteered to read out loud. Elena thought this was because he loved reading. Now she wondered if it was because he didn't have books at home to practice with. At recess, Elena watched from her classroom window. While other kids played on the swings and slide, Marcus sat under a tree with a library book. Elena walked outside to see what he was reading. "That looks like an interesting book, Marcus," she said, sitting down next to him under the tree. Marcus showed her the cover. It was a cookbook for kids called Easy Meals Anyone Can Make. "Are you interested in cooking?" Elena asked. Marcus nodded. "I like to help my grandma Dorothy when we have food to cook. But sometimes we don't have much." Elena's heart hurt hearing this. Marcus was reading cookbooks because his family didn't have enough food. He was trying to learn how to make meals with whatever they had. "What's your favorite thing to cook?" Elena asked. "Soup," Marcus said. "You can make soup with anything. Even if you only have one vegetable or some crackers, you can still make soup." Elena wanted to cry. This 10-year-old boy was thinking about how to make food from almost nothing. "That's very smart, Marcus," she said. "Soup is one of my favorite foods, too." After recess, Elena went to the school office. She asked Mrs. Patterson, the secretary, if she could look at Marcus's school records. "Is everything okay with Marcus?" Mrs. Patterson asked. I just want to understand his home situation better, Elena said. I think he might need some extra support. Mrs. Patterson pulled up Marcus's file on her computer. Elena read the information carefully. Marcus Thompson, age 10, lives with grandmother Dorothy Thompson, age 68. Address: Desert View Apartments, 1247 South of 32nd Street, Phoenix, Arizona. Parents: Roberto and Maria Thompson, deceased. Car accident, March 2022. Emergency contact, Dorothy Thompson only. Free lunch program, eligible but not enrolled. Elena stared at that last line. Marcus qualified for free lunch at school, but his grandmother had never signed him up for it. Why wouldn't someone sign up for free lunch if they qualified? Elena asked Mrs. Patterson. Mrs. Patterson shrugged. Sometimes families don't know about the program. Sometimes they're too proud to ask for help. Sometimes the paperwork gets lost. Elena felt frustrated. Marcus could have been eating lunch every day for free, but instead, he was digging through trash because of paperwork. Can I help get him signed up now? Elena asked. You'd need to talk to his grandmother first, Mrs. Patterson said. She has, to fill out the forms and provide some documents. After school, Elena decided to drive by Desert View Apartments. She wanted to see where Marcus lived. She didn't plan to stop or bother anyone. She just wanted to understand his world better. Desert View Apartments was a group of two-story buildings painted beige and brown. The paint was old and peeling in some places. Some windows had cardboard taped over them instead of glass. The parking lot had big cracks in it, with weeds growing through. Elena drove slowly through the complex. She saw kids playing in a small playground with broken swings. Laundry hung on lines between some of the buildings. An old man sat on his porch reading a newspaper. Elena found Building 2, where Marcus lived. The mailboxes outside were rusty, and some had no numbers. She could see apartment 2B had Thompson written in pencil on a piece of tape. Elena didn't stop. She didn't want to invade Marcus's privacy, but seeing where he lived helped her understand why his family might be struggling. She drove back to school and found Mr. Park, the school counselor. He was a kind man who had worked at Lincoln Elementary for 15 years. I wanted to ask you about Marcus Thompson, Elena said. Mr. Park nodded. Sweet kid. Very quiet. Lost his parents a couple years ago. Do you know anything about his home situation with his grandmother? Mr. Park looked through his files. I talked to Dorothy Thompson when Marcus first enrolled here. She seemed like a caring grandmother, but she looked tired and worried. I got the feeling money was tight. Marcus qualifies for free lunch, but isn't enrolled, Elena said. That happens more than you'd think, Mr. Park said. Some grandparents don't know about all the programs available. Some are too proud to ask for help. Dorothy Thompson might fall into either category. Elena thought about this. Marcus's grandmother was probably doing her best, but she might not know how to get help. Or she might be embarrassed to ask. What would you suggest I do? Elena asked. Talk to her, Mr. Park said, but be gentle about it. Make it about Marcus's education, not about charity. Nobody wants to feel like they're taking handouts. That evening, Elena made a decision. Tomorrow after school, she would visit Dorothy Thompson. She would find a kind way to offer help without making the family feel embarrassed. She spent the evening thinking about what she would say. She practiced different ways to start the conversation. She wanted to help Marcus, but she had to do it the right way. Elena had no idea that her plan to visit one grandmother would start something much bigger. She didn't know that her simple act of caring would soon touch the lives of many families in the community. All she knew was that Marcus needed help, and she was going to find a way to give it to him. Tomorrow, she would take the first step toward changing a little boy's life forever. Elena spent all of Wednesday thinking about how to approach Marcus's grandmother. She had to be very careful. She couldn't just show up and say, "I saw your grandson eating from the trash." That would embarrass Marcus and hurt his grandmother's feelings. During lunch, Elena watched Marcus again. Today, he didn't go behind the cafeteria. Instead, he sat in the library and pretended to read. But Elena could see his stomach growling. She could see him looking at other kids eating their lunches. Elena made a decision. She went to the cafeteria and bought an extra sandwich and apple. She wrapped them in a napkin and put them in her desk drawer for later. After school, Elena drove home and changed into casual clothes. She didn't want to look too much like a teacher when she visited Dorothy Thompson. She wanted to seem friendly and normal. At 5:30, Elena drove to Desert View Apartments. Her hands shook a little as she parked her car. She had never done anything like this before. What if Dorothy Thompson got angry? What if she told Elena to mind her own business? Elena found Building 2 and climbed the stairs to Apartment 2B. The hallway smelled like cooking food and cleaning supplies. She could hear televisions playing in different apartments. Someone was cooking something that smelled like onions and garlic. Elena took a deep breath and knocked softly on the door. She heard footsteps inside. Then the door opened just a little bit. A small woman with gray hair looked out through the crack. She had kind brown eyes that looked very tired. "Yes?" the woman said quietly. "Are you Mrs. Thompson?" "Dorothy Thompson?" Elena asked. "Yes. Who are you?" "I'm Elena Rodriguez. I'm Marcus's teacher at Lincoln Elementary." Dorothy's eyes got wide. She opened the door all the way. "Is Marcus in trouble? Did he do something wrong?" Elena could see the worry on Dorothy's face. This grandmother loved Marcus very much. "Oh no, not at all," Elena said quickly. "Marcus is a wonderful student. He's never in trouble. I just wanted to meet you and talk about how he's doing in school." Dorothy looked surprised, but relieved. "Would you like to come in?" Elena stepped inside the small apartment. It was very clean, but had almost no furniture. There was an old couch with a blanket thrown over it. A small television sat on a wooden crate. In the corner was a card table with 2 chairs. The kitchen was tiny. Elena could see an old refrigerator that made loud humming noises. The cabinets were painted white, but the paint was chipping off. "Please, sit down," Dorothy said, pointing to the card table. "Can I get you some water?" "Water would be nice, thank you," Elena said. Dorothy brought 2 glasses of water to the table. They sat down across from each other. "I'm sorry the place isn't much," Dorothy said. "We do our best to keep it nice." "It's very clean and comfortable," Elena said. And it was true. Even though the apartment was small and old, it was spotless. Dorothy clearly worked hard to make it a good home for Marcus. "How is Marcus doing in school?" Dorothy asked. "He doesn't talk much about it at home." "Marcus is a very good student," Elena said. "He's smart and kind. He works hard on all his assignments, but I've noticed he seems tired sometimes. I wanted to make sure everything is okay at home." Dorothy's eyes filled with tears. She looked down at her hands. "Things have been hard since Roberto and Maria died," Dorothy said quietly. "Roberto was my son. He and Maria were such good parents to Marcus. They had plans and dreams." Elena felt her heart break for this family. "I'm so sorry for your loss," she said. "I'm doing my best to take care of Marcus," Dorothy continued. "But I'm 68 years old. I worked as a housekeeper for 30 years, but I hurt my back last year. Now I can't work anymore." Dorothy wiped her eyes with a tissue. "I get a small disability check every month. But after I pay rent and buy my medicine, there's not much left for food." Elena understood now. Dorothy wasn't being careless or lazy. She was an elderly woman trying to raise a 10-year-old boy on almost no money. "Marcus never complains," Dorothy said. "He's such a good boy. He helps me with everything. He reads to me when my eyes hurt. He tries to cook when we have food. But I know he's hungry sometimes." The words hit Elena like a punch in the stomach. Dorothy knew Marcus was hungry, but she didn't know what else to do. Elena looked around the apartment again. She noticed there were no pictures of food or restaurants anywhere. No snacks on the counter. The refrigerator was very quiet, which probably meant it was almost empty. On a small shelf, Elena saw photos of Marcus with his parents. They looked happy and young. There was one photo of Marcus blowing out candles on a birthday cake. He looked about 7 years old and was smiling. "So big. You're doing an amazing job," Elena told Dorothy. "Marcus is lucky to have you, but I'd like to help, if you'll let me." Dorothy looked surprised. Help how? Elena had thought about this carefully. She knew she had to be respectful and not make Dorothy feel like charity case. "Well, first, Marcus qualifies for free lunch at school. Did you know that?" Dorothy shook her head. "No one told me about that." "I can help you fill out the paperwork," Elena said. "It's easy, and Marcus can start getting lunch right away." "That would help so much," Dorothy said, tears in her eyes again. "Also," Elena continued, "I pack too much lunch for myself every day. My husband always makes too much food. Would it be okay if I shared some with Marcus? I hate to see food go to waste." This wasn't completely true. Elena's husband didn't make too much food, but Elena had decided she would start packing extra lunch for Marcus every day. She would buy the food with her own money. Dorothy thought about this. "You don't have to do that." "I want to," Elena said. "Marcus is a special kid. He deserves to have enough to eat so he can focus on learning." Dorothy nodded slowly. "Okay, but only if you're sure it's not too much trouble." "It's no trouble at all," Elena said. They talked for another 30 minutes. Dorothy told Elena about Marcus's parents and how much they loved him. She talked about how smart Marcus was and how he loved to read. Elena learned that Dorothy had no family nearby to help. Marcus's parents had been her only family. Now it was just her and Marcus, trying to make it on their own. When Elena got ready to leave, Dorothy walked her to the door. "Thank you for caring about Marcus," Dorothy said. "Most people don't notice kids like him." "Marcus is easy to notice. Once you really look," Elena said. "He's going to do great things someday." Elena drove home feeling sad and hopeful at the same time. Sad because Marcus and Dorothy were struggling so much. Hopeful because now she could help them. That night, Elena told her husband Tony about her visit. "You did the right thing," Tony said. "That poor family needs help." "I'm going to start packing extra lunch for Marcus every day," Elena said. "How much will that cost?" Tony asked. "Maybe $30 a week," Elena said. "We can afford that." Tony hugged his wife. "You have a good heart, Elena. That little boy is lucky to have you as his teacher." Elena went to bed feeling better than she had in days. Tomorrow, Marcus would have a real lunch. He wouldn't have to eat from the trash ever again. But Elena had no idea that her simple plan to help one student would soon grow into something much bigger. She didn't know that her act of kindness would inspire others and change her entire community. All she knew was that tomorrow, Marcus Thompson would eat a good lunch, and that was enough for now. Thursday morning, Elena woke up at 5:30 a.m. She went to her kitchen and made 2 bag lunches. One was for herself, the other was for Marcus. For Marcus's lunch, she packed a turkey sandwich with real turkey from the Yao deli counter. She added chips, an apple, a granola bar, and a juice box. She put everything in a brown paper bag and wrote "Extra Lunch" on the outside. Elena drove to school early. She put Marcus's lunch in her desk drawer and waited for him to arrive. At 8 a.m., Marcus walked into the classroom. He looked tired, just like always. His backpack hung loose on his shoulders. Elena knew it was almost empty. "Good morning, Marcus," Elena said with a big smile. "Good morning, Mrs. Rodriguez," Marcus said quietly. During math class, Elena watched Marcus carefully. He was paying attention and working on his problems, but around 10:30, his stomach started growling. Elena could hear it from her desk. Marcus put his hand on his stomach and looked embarrassed. A few other kids heard it too and started giggling. "It's almost lunchtime," Elena said to the whole class. "I think everyone's getting hungry." When lunchtime came, Elena asked Marcus to stay behind for a minute. "Marcus, I packed too much lunch today," she said, taking the brown bag out of her desk. "My husband always makes too much food. Would you help me eat this extra lunch? I don't want it to go to waste." Marcus looked at the bag suspiciously. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure," Elena said. "I can't eat all this food myself." Marcus took the bag and looked inside. His eyes got wide when he saw the sandwich, chips, apple, and juice box. "This is a lot of food," he said. "I know. That's why I need help eating it," Elena said. "Why don't you go to the cafeteria and enjoy your lunch?" Marcus smiled for the first time Elena had seen in weeks. "Thank you, Mrs. Rodriguez." Elena watched. Marcus walked to the cafeteria with his lunch bag. Her heart felt happy seeing him excited about food. During lunch, Elena peeked into the cafeteria. Marcus was sitting at a table by himself, but he was eating everything in the bag. He ate slowly, like he wanted to make it last. He looked so happy. That afternoon, Marcus had more energy than usual. He raised his hand to answer questions in social studies. He laughed when Elena made a joke about fractions. He stayed awake during reading time. Elena felt so good seeing Marcus alert and happy. She realized how much hunger had been affecting his ability to learn. On Friday, Elena brought another extra lunch for Marcus. This time she packed a ham and cheese sandwich, crackers, grapes, and chocolate milk. "I have too much food again," she told Marcus. "Could you help me out?" Marcus smiled. "Yes, Mrs. Rodriguez, I can help." Elena started bringing extra lunch for Marcus every day. She told him different stories about why she had extra food. Sometimes, her husband cooked too much. Sometimes, she bought too much at the grocery store. Sometimes, her mother sent her more food than she could eat. Marcus started to believe these stories. He didn't feel bad about taking the food because he thought he was helping Mrs. Rodriguez. After a week, Elena could see big changes in Marcus. He had more energy. His face looked less pale. He participated more in class discussions. He even started talking to other kids during recess. But Elena noticed other things about Marcus too. His shoes had big holes in them. When it rained on Wednesday, his feet got completely wet. He spent the whole day with soggy socks and shoes. His winter coat was too small for him. It barely reached his waist and the zipper was broken. When the temperature dropped to 45 degrees, Marcus shivered all day. His school supplies were falling apart. His pencils were worn down to tiny stubs. His notebook was almost empty because he wrote very small to save paper. Elena decided she needed to help with these things too. But she had to be careful. She couldn't just give Marcus new clothes and supplies. That would make him and his grandmother feel embarrassed. That weekend, Elena went to Target. She bought Marcus new shoes in his size. She bought him a warm winter coat. She bought him new pencils, notebooks, and a pencil case. At home, Elena wrapped everything in a big box. She wrote a note that said, "For Marcus, from your secret Santa. Someone who thinks you're special." On Saturday evening, Elena drove to Desert View Apartments. She waited until it was dark. Then she quietly put the box outside apartment 2B and knocked on the door. She ran back to her car and drove away quickly. Elena hoped Marcus and Dorothy would think the gifts came from a kind neighbor or someone from their church. On Monday morning, Marcus came to school wearing his new shoes and coat. He looked so proud and happy. His new coat was the perfect size and zipped up all the way. His new shoes kept his feet dry and warm. During writing time, Marcus took out his new pencils and notebook. He wrote bigger letters because he didn't have to worry about running out of paper. At lunchtime, Marcus came up to Elena's desk. "Mrs. Rodriguez, someone left presents outside our apartment," he said excitedly. "Grandma Dorothy thinks it was an angel." Elena smiled. "What kind of presents?" "New shoes and a coat, and school stuff," Marcus said. "Everything fits perfectly. Grandma, Dorothy says angels know exactly what people need." "Maybe it was an angel," Elena said. "Or maybe it was just someone who cares about you." "Do you think angels are real?" Marcus asked. "I think kindness is real," Elena said. "And sometimes kindness can feel like magic." Marcus nodded seriously. "I want to be kind like that when I grow up." Elena felt tears in her eyes. "I think you already are kind, Marcus." But Elena didn't know that Dorothy had been talking to her neighbors about the kind teacher who was helping Marcus. She didn't know that word was starting to spread around Desert View Apartments about Mrs. Rodriguez. Mrs. Santos, in apartment 2C, had heard about Elena. Her daughter Isabella was struggling in second grade and could use extra help with reading. Mr. Rivera in apartment 1D had heard too. His son Carlos was having trouble with math and getting teased by other kids. The Kim family in apartment 3A was new to America. Their twin boys needed help learning English. Elena thought she was just helping one little boy. She had no idea that her simple acts of kindness were about to create something much bigger. She didn't know that parents throughout the apartment complex were starting to hope that maybe this caring teacher could help their children too. Marcus was eating real lunches and wearing warm clothes. He was smiling and participating in class. Elena felt proud of what she had accomplished. But the biggest surprise was still to come. Elena's kindness was about to ripple out into the community in ways she never imagined. 3 weeks after Elena started helping Marcus, something unexpected happened. Dorothy Thompson knocked on her neighbor's door in apartment 2C. Maria Santos opened the door. She was a young mother with tired eyes and work clothes on. She cleaned office buildings at night and watched other people's children during the day. She was always busy and always worried about money. "Hi, Maria," Dorothy said. "Do you have a minute to talk?" Maria invited Dorothy inside. Her apartment looked just like Dorothy's, small, clean, and with very little furniture. 7-year-old Isabella Santos was sitting at the kitchen table doing homework. She was struggling with a reading worksheet. "I wanted to tell you about Marcus's teacher," Dorothy said. Dorothy explained how Elena Rodriguez had been helping them, not just with food, but with kindness and respect. She told Maria how Elena never made them feel ashamed or like they were taking charity. "She makes it seem like Marcus is helping her by eating the extra food," Dorothy said. "And someone left wonderful presents for Marcus. I think it might have been her, but she would never admit it." Maria listened carefully. She had been watching Isabella struggle in school for months. Isabella's teacher, Mrs. Wilson, was nice, but busy. She had 30 kids in her class and couldn't give Isabella the extra help she needed. "My Isabella could use a teacher like that," Maria said. "She's having trouble reading. I try to help, but I work 2 jobs. I don't have much time." "Maybe you could talk to Mrs. Rodriguez," Dorothy suggested. "She really cares about kids." Maria thought about this. Isabella was falling behind in 2nd grade. She came home frustrated every day because she couldn't read as well as the other kids. Maria felt terrible that she couldn't help more. The next day, Maria walked to Lincoln Elementary during her lunch break. She found Elena Rodriguez in her classroom, eating a sandwich while grading papers. "Excuse me, Mrs. Rodriguez," Maria said from the doorway. Elena looked up and smiled. "Come in. How can I help you?" "I'm Maria Santos. My daughter Isabella is in 2nd grade here. Dorothy Thompson told me about how you've been helping Marcus." Elena felt a little nervous. Was Maria going to complain about something? Did she think Elena was doing something wrong? Dorothy said, "You really care about kids," Maria continued. "I was wondering, could you maybe help my daughter with reading? She's struggling, and I don't know what to do." Elena's heart went out to this worried mother. "Tell me about Isabella." Maria sat down and explained Isabella's problems. She was a smart girl, but reading was hard for her. She mixed up letters. She got frustrated and gave up easily. The other kids in her class were reading chapter books, while Isabella was still, sounding out simple words. "I want to help her, but I work at night cleaning offices," Maria said. "During the day, I watch other people's kids to make money. I'm too tired to help Isabella with homework." Elena understood. Maria was working hard to support her family, but that left little time for helping with schoolwork. "I could tutor Isabella." "After school," Elena offered. "Maybe twice a week?" "I can't pay much," Maria said quickly. "But I could clean your house or watch your kids." Elena smiled. "I don't need house cleaning or babysitting. I just want to help Isabella succeed." Maria's eyes filled with tears. "Really? You would do that for free?" "Really," Elena said. "Bring Isabella here on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3:30. We'll work on reading together." The next Tuesday, Maria brought Isabella to Elena's classroom. Isabella was shy and nervous. She had curly brown hair and big brown eyes that looked scared. "Hi, Isabella," Elena said gently. "I'm Mrs. Rodriguez. Your mom told me you love to learn." Isabella nodded, but didn't say anything. Elena had prepared fun reading games and easy books. She made reading feel like playing instead of work. After an hour, Isabella was smiling and reading simple sentences. "You're a great reader, Isabella," Elena said. "You just needed some practice." Word about Elena's tutoring spread quickly through Desert View Apartments. Parents talked to each other while doing laundry or checking mail. They shared stories about the teacher who helped kids, even when they weren't in her class. Soon, more parents started coming to Lincoln Elementary. Carlos Rivera knocked on Elena's classroom door on Wednesday afternoon. His son, Miguel, was in 4th grade at the school, but struggling with math. Miguel was getting teased by other kids for being bad at numbers. "Could you help my son?" Carlos asked. "He's losing confidence in himself." Elena agreed to help Miguel on Mondays and Wednesdays. The Kim family came next. David and Susan Kim had moved to Phoenix from South Korea 6 months ago. Their twin boys, Jin and Jun, were 8 years old and just learning English. They understood more than they could speak, which made school frustrating. "We want our boys to succeed in America," David Kim said, "but language is hard for them." Elena started teaching Jin and Jun on Fridays. She used pictures and games to help them learn English words. Jennifer Walsh, was a single mother whose daughter Emma was being bullied at school. Emma was 10 years old and afraid to go to recess because mean kids called her names. "Emma needs someone to talk to," Jennifer said. "Someone who understands kids." Elena agreed to meet with Emma during lunch breaks to help her build confidence. Soon, Elena was staying. After school every day, her classroom was full of kids from different grades and different families. Some needed help with reading, some needed help with math, some just needed someone to listen to their problems. Elena bought snacks for all the kids: crackers, apples, juice boxes. She bought extra pencils and paper. She created fun worksheets and games. But Elena was spending a lot of her own money on all these supplies. She was also working extra hours every day without getting paid for it. Her husband, Tony, started to worry. "Elena, I'm proud of what you're doing," he said one evening. "But you're exhausted, and we're spending a lot of money on supplies for other people's kids." Elena knew Tony was right. Last week, she had spent over $100 on snacks and school supplies. She was getting home at 6:00 p.m. every day instead of 3:30 p.m. "I can't stop helping them," Elena said. "These kids need support. If I don't help them, who will?" "You can't save every kid in Phoenix," Tony said gently. "We need to think about our own family, too." Elena felt torn. She loved helping these children. She could see them improving every week. Marcus was reading at grade level now. Isabella could sound out new words. Miguel was getting better at math. The Kim twins were speaking English sentences, but Tony was right. Elena couldn't afford to buy supplies for 20 kids forever. And she was getting tired from working so many extra hours. Elena didn't know what to do. She wanted to keep helping, but she was running out of money and energy. What Elena didn't know was that someone had been watching her after-school program. Someone who had the power to help her help even more kids. Elena's kindness had started with one hungry boy eating from a trash can. Now, it was touching the lives of families throughout the community. But the biggest surprise was still coming. Elena didn't know that someone had been watching her after-school tutoring sessions. Principal Janet Morrison had noticed teachers and kids staying late every day. She was curious about what was happening in Elena's classroom. Principal Morrison was a tall woman with short gray hair and kind eyes. She had been the principal at Lincoln Elementary for 12 years. She cared deeply about her students and teachers. On Thursday afternoon, Principal Morrison walked past Elena's classroom around 4:30 p.m. The hallways were usually empty by this time, but she could hear voices coming from room 15. She peeked through the door window and saw something amazing. 8 children from different grades were sitting at desks. Some were reading books. Some were working on math problems. Some were practicing writing. Elena was moving from student to student. She helped Marcus sound out a big word. She showed Isabella how to solve a math problem. She gave Jin and Jun new English words to practice. On a table near Elena's desk, there were apple slices, crackers, and juice boxes. The kids would take snacks when they got hungry. Elena treated them like they were her own children. Principal Morrison recognized some of the kids. Marcus Thompson from Elena's class. Isabella Santos from Mrs. Wilson's 2nd grade. Miguel Rivera from Mr. Park's 4th grade. The Kim twins from Mrs. Garcia's 3rd grade. These weren't all Elena's students. Some weren't even from Lincoln Elementary. What was Elena doing? After the kids left at 5:00 p.m., Principal Morrison knocked on Elena's classroom door. "Elena, can we talk?" she said. Elena looked nervous. Her heart started beating fast. Was she in trouble? Did Principal Morrison think she was doing something wrong? "Of course," Elena said, trying to stay calm. Principal Morrison came into the classroom and sat down at one of the student desks. "I've been watching what you're doing here after school," she said. "It's incredible." Elena felt relieved. Principal Morrison didn't sound angry. "These kids need help," Elena explained. "Their families are struggling. Some parents work multiple jobs and can't help with homework. Some kids are learning English. Some just need extra support." "I can see that," Principal Morrison said. "But Elena, I'm worried about you. You're here until 5 p.m. every day. You're spending your own money on snacks and supplies. This isn't sustainable." Elena's shoulders slumped. She knew Principal Morrison was right. Last week, she had spent $150 on food and school supplies. Her husband Tony was getting more worried about their budget. "I know," Elena said quietly, "but I can't stop helping them." "If I don't help these kids, who will?" Principal Morrison smiled. "That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say." Elena looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I want to help," Principal Morrison said. "What you're doing is exactly what education should be about. You're not just teaching subjects, you're changing lives." Elena couldn't believe what she was hearing. "You want to help?" "Yes. Let me make some phone calls. I think we can get official support for what you're doing." The next week, Principal Morrison called a meeting with Sarah Chen, the school district's community outreach coordinator. Sarah was a young woman who worked to connect schools with local organizations and families. Principal Morrison explained Elena's after-school tutoring program. She told Sarah about the kids who were getting help and the families who were benefiting. "This sounds like exactly the kind of program our district wants to support," Sarah said. "But we'd need to follow proper procedures. We'd need to get approval from the district office. We'd need insurance forms and background checks for volunteers. We might need to apply for grants." "How long would all that take?" Elena asked. Sarah thought for a moment. "Maybe 6 months if we're lucky. Government processes are slow." Elena's heart sank. 6 months was a long time. These kids needed help now, not in 6 months. Marcus was finally reading at grade level. Isabella was gaining confidence. The Kim twins were learning English quickly. "I can't wait 6 months," Elena said. "These families need support right now." Principal Morrison had been thinking about this problem. What if we start smaller? What if we reach out to local businesses and community groups? Phoenix has a lot of people who care about education. "That's a great idea," Sarah said. "Community partnerships can move much faster than government programs." That weekend, Principal Morrison and Elena spent Saturday morning writing letters. They wrote to local businesses, churches, and community organizations. They explained the after-school tutoring program and asked for support. In their letters, they wrote, "Dear community partners, Lincoln Elementary School has an amazing after-school program that's helping children succeed. One of our teachers, Mrs. Elena Rodriguez, is tutoring students who need extra help with reading, math, and English. These children come from families who are working hard but struggling financially. Their parents care deeply about education but often work multiple jobs and can't provide homework help. Mrs. Rodriguez's program is making a real difference. Children are improving their grades and building confidence. But we need community support to keep this program going. We're looking for donations of school supplies, healthy snacks, and funding for materials. We're also looking for volunteers who could help tutor children. If you believe in the power of education to change lives, please consider supporting our program. Sincerely, Principal Janet Morrison and Mrs. Elena Rodriguez, Lincoln Elementary School." They printed 50 copies of the letter and mailed them to businesses throughout Phoenix. "I hope someone responds," Elena said, "but I'm not holding my breath." Principal Morrison was more optimistic. Phoenix has generous people. I think we'll be surprised." They sent the letters on Monday. Elena didn't expect to hear anything for weeks, but on Wednesday morning, the school secretary told Elena she had a phone call. "This is Rebecca Martinez from Channel 3 News," the voice said. "We received a copy of your letter about the tutoring program. We'd like to do a story about what you're doing." Elena's heart stopped. A news story? On television? Yes. In a world full of bad news, people need to hear about teachers like you. "Could we come to your school tomorrow to film?" Elena panicked. She had never been on television before. She didn't want to be famous. She just wanted to help kids. "I don't know," Elena said. "I'm just a teacher doing my job." "That's exactly why." "This is news," Rebecca said. "You're going above and beyond to help children. People need to hear this story." Elena thought about Marcus eating from the trash can just 2 months ago. She thought about Isabella learning to read. She thought about the Kim twins speaking English confidently. Maybe a news story could help more people learn about the program. Maybe other teachers would be inspired to help kids in their communities. "Okay," Elena said. "You can come tomorrow." Elena had no idea that agreeing to this interview would change everything. She didn't know that her simple story about helping hungry and struggling children would touch the hearts of thousands of people. She thought the news story would maybe help her get a few donations for school supplies. She had no idea that it would lead to something much bigger than she ever imagined. The Channel 3 news crew arrived at Lincoln Elementary on Thursday afternoon. Rebecca Martinez, the reporter, was a young woman with bright smile and friendly eyes. She brought a cameraman named Steve, who carried a big video camera. Elena felt nervous seeing all the equipment. She had changed her clothes 3 times that morning, trying to find something that looked professional, but not fancy. "Don't worry, Mrs. Rodriguez," Rebecca said. "We're just going to show people the amazing work you're doing." "Be yourself," Rebecca interviewed Elena first. They sat in Elena's classroom with student artwork on the walls behind them. "Tell me how this all started," Rebecca said. Elena told the story about seeing Marcus eating from the trash can. She explained how that one moment changed everything for her. She talked about meeting Dorothy and learning about their struggles. "I couldn't just do nothing," Elena said. "Marcus needed help, and I was in a position to help him. But it didn't." "Stop with Marcus, did it?" Rebecca asked. Elena smiled. "No. Other families heard about what we were doing. Parents started asking for help with their children. Before I knew it, I had 8 kids coming for tutoring every day." Next, Rebecca interviewed Principal Morrison about Elena's impact on the school and community. "Mrs. Rodriguez reminds us why we became educators," Principal Morrison said. "She sees a need and acts on it. She doesn't wait for someone else to solve the problem." Then Rebecca talked to some of the children in Elena's program. Marcus was shy about being on camera, but he agreed to speak. "Mrs. Rodriguez helped me when I needed it most," he said in a quiet voice. "She's the best teacher in the world." Isabella Santos spoke more confidently. "I couldn't read before. Now I can read chapter books. Mrs. Rodriguez makes learning fun." Jenny Kim spoke in careful English. "Mrs. Rodriguez helped me learn American words. Now I understand my friends at school." The cameraman filmed Elena working with different children. He showed her helping Marcus with a math problem. He filmed her reading with Isabella. He captured her teaching English words to Jin and Jun Kim. The camera also showed the snacks Elena provided and all the school supplies she had bought with her own money. "How much of your own money do you spend on this program?" Rebecca asked. Elena looked embarrassed. "I don't really keep track. Maybe $100 or $150 a week." These kids need supplies and healthy snacks. It's worth it to see them succeed. The interview lasted about an hour. When it was over, Elena felt good about what she had said. She hoped the story would help people understand how much these families needed support. "When will this be on TV?" Elena asked. "Tomorrow night at 6 p.m., Rebecca said. "Thank you for letting us tell your story." The next evening, Elena and her husband Tony watched the news together. The story about Elena's tutoring program was the third story of the night. In a time when we hear so many negative stories about education, Rebecca Martinez said on TV, Mrs. Elena Rodriguez at Lincoln Elementary reminds us why teachers are heroes. The story showed Elena working with children and explained how she started helping Marcus. It talked about the families from Desert View Apartments and how the program was growing. At the end of the story, Rebecca said, Mrs. Rodriguez is proving that one person's kindness can change an entire community. She's spending her own money and time to help children succeed. In a world that often feels divided, Elena Rodriguez is bringing people together through the simple act of caring. Elena felt embarrassed watching herself on TV, but she was proud that the story focused on the children and their families. "You did great, Elena," Tony said. "I'm proud of you." The next morning, Elena arrived at school expecting a normal Friday. But Principal Morrison was waiting for her in the parking lot with a huge smile. "Elena, you need to see this," she said, handing her a stack of papers. The papers were emails that had been sent to the school overnight. Dozens and dozens of emails from people who had seen the news story. Elena read through them, amazed. Local businesses wanted to donate school supplies. Parents offered to volunteer as tutors. Churches asked how they could help. A retired teacher named Mrs. Foster offered to help with reading instruction for free. One email was from Phoenix Children's Hospital. They wanted to provide free health screenings for children in the program. Another email was from the Phoenix Public Library. They offered to bring a mobile library to Desert View Apartments once a week. "This is incredible," Elena said. "I can't believe so many people want to help." But the biggest surprise came at lunchtime. A well-dressed man walked into the school office and asked to speak with Principal Morrison and Mrs. Rodriguez. "I'm Michael Chen," he said, introducing himself. "I own Chen's Restaurant Group. We have 15 restaurants in Phoenix." Michael Chen was a man in his 50s with kind eyes and a warm smile. He wore an expensive suit, but spoke in a friendly, humble way. "I saw the news story about Mrs. Rodriguez last night," he said. "My family came to America from Taiwan 30 years ago with nothing. We didn't speak English. We were poor." He sat down in Principal Morrison's office and continued his story. "Teachers like Mrs. Rodriguez helped my children succeed in school. They gave them extra help with English. They encouraged them when things were hard. Without those teachers, my kids wouldn't have graduated from college. My business wouldn't exist." Michael Chen reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. "I want to give back," he said. "This is a check for $10,000 to support Mrs. Rodriguez's tutoring program." Elena's mouth fell open. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. $10,000 was more money than she had ever seen for a school program. "But that's not all," Michael Chen continued. "I want to provide healthy snacks for all the children in your program. Fresh fruit, sandwiches, nutritious food, every day." Elena started crying. She couldn't help it. This man's generosity was overwhelming. "My family knows what it's like to struggle," Michael Chen said. "Education changed our lives. Now I want to help change other families' lives." That afternoon, the story got even bigger. Channel 3 News posted the story on their Facebook page. People started sharing it immediately. By evening, the story had been shared over 1,000 times on social media. People were adding comments about how much Elena's story inspired them. Other news stations picked up the story. Channel 15 and Channel 12 both called the school asking for interviews with Elena. The hashtag #HardockerTeacherHero started trending on Twitter in Phoenix. Elena's phone wouldn't stop ringing. She got calls from teachers in other cities asking for advice about starting their own programs. A book publisher called asking if she wanted to write a book about teaching. A speakers bureau wanted her to give talks at education conferences. "This is crazy," Elena told Tony that night. "All I did was help Marcus eat lunch. Now everyone wants to talk to me." But the attention brought even more support. Arizona State University's College of Education offered to send student teachers to help with tutoring. The mayor of Phoenix announced that he wanted to visit the school to recognize Elena's work. Local grocery stores called, offering to donate food for families in need. A group of retired teachers formed a volunteer network to help with tutoring at other schools. Elena felt overwhelmed by all the attention, but she also felt hopeful. All this support meant she could help even more children. Marcus was reading, 2 grade levels above where he started. Isabella was confident and happy. The Kim twins were speaking English fluently. Miguel was getting A's in math, but Elena knew there were hundreds of other children in Phoenix who needed help too. With all this community support, maybe she could reach them. Elena's simple act of kindness had grown into something much bigger than she ever imagined. But the most amazing surprise was still to come. 6 months after Elena first saw Marcus eating. From the trash can, Lincoln Elementary was hosting a special celebration dinner. The school cafeteria was decorated with colorful balloons and streamers. Local businesses had donated a fancy meal for everyone. Over 200 people filled the cafeteria. Students, families, teachers, volunteers, and community supporters all came to celebrate the tutoring program's success. Elena looked around the room in amazement. All of this started because she cared about one hungry boy. Now look what had happened. Principal Morrison stood up to speak first. 6 months ago, Mrs. Rodriguez saw a student in need and decided to act. What happened next shows the incredible power of one person's kindness to change an entire community. She read amazing statistics about the program's success. 47 Sapantui children were now getting regular tutoring. Reading scores had improved by an average of 2 grade levels. 15 families had received job training and career support through community partnerships. But then Principal Morrison said something that made everyone quiet and curious. Tonight, we have a very special guest, someone who has been watching our program from the very beginning, someone who has a story to tell that will surprise all of us. An elderly man in a wheelchair rolled slowly to the front of the room. Elena had never seen him before, but something about his face looked familiar. Marcus pointed from his table. "That's Mr. Peterson from my apartment building," he whispered to his grandmother, Dorothy. The man introduced himself in a shaky but strong voice. "I'm Dr. James Peterson. I'm a retired professor of education from Arizona State University. I live in apartment 1A at Desert View Apartments, right below Marcus and his grandmother." Elena listened carefully. This man lived in the same building as Marcus? How had she never met him during all her visits? "I've been watching this program develop," Dr. Peterson continued. "I've seen Mrs. Rodriguez come to tutor children in our apartment complex. I've watched families change and kids succeed. But there's something you all should know." He paused and looked directly at Elena. His eyes were serious and kind. 35 years ago, I was a young teacher at a school very similar to Lincoln. Elementary. I had a student who was struggling. His family didn't have much money. He was often hungry and tired in class. Elena felt a strange chill as Dr. Peterson continued. Something about this story felt familiar. One day, I saw that student eating from a trash can behind the school cafeteria. I was shocked and heartbroken. I wanted to help, but I didn't know how. I was young and scared of doing the wrong thing. The room was completely silent now. Everyone was listening to every word. I went home that night and told my wife about the student. We talked about what to do. We made plans to help. We bought groceries. We picked out clothes. But you know what happened? Dr. Peterson's voice got quieter and sadder. I got busy, got distracted. I had papers to grade and meetings to attend. Days turned into weeks. I kept meaning to help, but I never did. That student continued to struggle. His grades got worse. He missed more and more school. Eventually, he dropped out of high school. Elena felt tears starting in her eyes, though she didn't know why this story was affecting her so much. I never forgot that student, Dr. Peterson continued. For 35 years, I've regretted not helping when I had the chance. I've wondered, what happened to him? I've used his story to teach other teachers about the importance of acting when they see a child in need. Dr. Peterson looked around the room at all the families, volunteers, and children whose lives had been changed by the tutoring program. Mrs. Rodriguez, when I saw you helping Marcus, I knew you were doing what I should have done 35 years ago. You saw a need and you acted. You didn't make excuses or wait for someone else to help. You cared enough to do something immediately. Now, Dr. Peterson looked directly at Elena, and his next words changed everything she thought she knew about her life. The student I failed to help 35 years ago, his name was Roberto Rodriguez. Mrs. Rodriguez, he was your father. The room erupted in gasps and whispers. Elena felt like the world had stopped spinning. Her father? This man knew her father? Elena's father had died when she was 12 years old. She remembered him talking about how school had been hard for him. He had dropped out in 10th grade and always regretted it. He worked construction jobs his whole life and always told Elena that education was the most important thing in the world. Your father eventually got his GED, Dr. Peterson continued. He worked hard to support your family. He always believed in the power of education, even though school was difficult for him. He was so proud when you became a teacher. Elena was crying now, but they were tears of understanding, not sadness. Everything made sense now. Her father's passion for education, his stories about struggling in school, his pride when she graduated from college, his belief that teachers could change the world. I think your father would be incredibly proud of what you've accomplished, Dr. Peterson said. Through you, that hungry 10-year-old boy from 35 years ago finally got the help he needed. Dr. Peterson reached into his jacket and pulled out a large envelope. I've been saving money for 35 years, he said. Every month I put money aside, hoping that someday I could make up for my mistake. Tonight feels like that time. He handed the envelope to Elena. Inside was a check for $50,000 made out to the Lincoln Elementary Tutoring Program. But that wasn't all. There was also a deed to a small building near the school. I own a building 2 blocks from here, Dr. Peterson explained. It used to be a community center. I want to donate it to create a permanent tutoring and family support center, a place where children and families can get help with education, job training, and other services. Elena couldn't speak. She was overwhelmed by emotion. This man had been carrying guilt about her father for 35 years. Now he was giving everything he had to support the work she was doing. This is my way of finally helping that hungry student from 35 years ago, Dr. Peterson said with tears in his eyes, through his daughter. Elena stood up and walked over to Dr. Peterson. She hugged him tightly, and the entire room broke into applause. Marcus ran up and joined the hug, followed by Isabella, Miguel, Jin, June, and dozens of other children whose lives had been changed by Elena's kindness. As Elena looked around the room at all the faces, students, families, volunteers, and community members, she realized that her father's story didn't end when he dropped out of school. It continued through her, through Marcus, and through every child who would be helped by this program in the years to come. The circle of kindness that started with one teacher seeing one hungry student had grown into something that would help thousands of children. And it all began with the simple decision to care enough to act. Elena thought about her father, Roberto Rodriguez, the 10-year-old boy who once ate from a trash can because no one helped him. Now, 35 years later, his daughter was making sure that no child would go hungry while she had the power to help. Dr. Peterson's gift would allow the program to expand to other schools throughout Phoenix. The community center would provide services to hundreds of families. Elena's simple act of kindness had become a movement that would change lives for generations. As the celebration continued around her, Elena felt her father's presence. She knew he was proud of her. She knew that somewhere, somehow, that hungry 10-year-old boy had finally found peace. The story had come full circle. One teacher's kindness had healed a wound from the past while creating hope for the future. Sometimes the most powerful changes start with the smallest acts of love. We'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and tell us what city or country you're in. It's amazing to see how stories of kindness connect people from all around the world. If this story touched your heart and restored your faith in humanity, please give this video a like. It really helps us reach more people who need to hear uplifting stories like this one. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for many more inspiring and heartwarming stories that celebrate the good in people. We share new stories every week that will make you believe in the power of human kindness. And please, share this video with your friends and family. In a world that often feels divided, stories like Elena's remind us that compassion and caring can change everything. When we spread these stories, we spread kindness and awareness that can inspire others to act with love in their own communities. Thank you for listening, and remember, you never know how one small act of kindness might change someone's life forever.